We're in the tallest masonry dome in North America. It's extremely similar, almost identical to St. Paul's Cathedral in London. And you find that in a lot of our institutional buildings here in the U.S. are modeled after buildings in Europe. And so if you were to go to St. Paul's, you would be amazed at how much the exterior architecture and then how the fundamental structural systems of the two buildings are almost identical. I think of the building as being 5 distinct parts. The first part is the rotunda, which we're standing in right now. And the rotunda is surrounded by the House and Senate boxes on either end and the north and south entrances. And so the dome, if you will, is supported on top of the rotunda. The rotunda is supported by these 4 massive concrete legs. These legs then go up to massive concrete arches. When the building was constructed, it was constructed under 2 separate contracts. The first contract took it to the top of the arches. And so that was all the concrete construction. And then above us, the masonry construction, the dome, was done under a separate contract. And again, all brick and stone. There are 2 domes. There's the dome that we see above us, which is called the inner dome. And then what you don't see is between this inner dome and the outer dome, which we see on the outside of the building, there is a structural cone. The cone is what supports the lantern. So when we're outside the building and you look up, you see the masonry dome. Sitting on top of the dome is the lantern. And then the masonry outer dome is nothing more than an umbrella. We call this the catacombs for obvious reasons, but it's just this wonderful cellular masonry structure that no one ever sees. The style of construction is masonry arches. There are, I believe, 16 cellular structures that surround the base of the drum, and these structures support, if you look up, the stone and concrete which then the columns of the upper colonnade rest on. One of the things a lot of people don't realize is that when the building was constructed, all these interior finishes that you see are made of plaster. And until the centennial, the building was left in its raw white color. So as part of the centennial celebration, the interior was painted out. So all of the highlights that you see, the gold leaf on the eagles, all the painting inside the dentils and the contrasting colors, all of this was done as part of the centennial. And what a lot of people don't realize is when they're down on the floor in the public spaces, you see all the marble structure, but you get up here, it's faux, but it's actually plaster. And the same is true of these columns. So on the outside of the building, you see the 3-foot diameter sandstone columns, the Wilkinson sandstone columns that appear to support the domes. And on the inside, you see these columns, which again, have been painted to look like marble. In truth, this is hollow. This is a plaster shell. And on the inside of this is a piece of structural steel that sits on top of a brick pier that goes up and supports a concrete floor that is supporting the weight of the domes. This is the inner dome, which we see from standing on the floor of the rotunda when we look up. So we're standing at the base of the domes at this point. To my right here, as you look up, you'll see this conical structure, and that's the structural cone, which serves, its main purpose is to support the lantern, okay? And it passes through a hole in the outer dome, an oculus, if you will, and that's how the lantern is supported. One of the inherent strengths of this building is the structural design of the outer dome, structural cone, inner dome. This is the winch that supports the Tiffany chandelier. Originally, they would lower the chandelier to change the light bulbs. In recent years, they use a climber instead to go up to the chandelier in place and replace the light bulbs in place. This bar right here is what holds the chandelier in place. And so what we were worried about is, does this jiggle? We've added some keepers here on the side that help it stay in place. And again, the winch was originally a manually operated winch. I don't believe the winch is any longer in use.
Hello there, and welcome to the most upper accessible level of the Washington State Capitol building, the Legislative Building. My name is Bonnie Scheel, and I'm the asset manager for General Administration. When you're up here in the lantern of the dome, first thing you'll notice about the architecture is it repeats the design elements that you'll find in the lower portion of the building. You have the balustrades and the balusters. You have the buttresses, the lower buttresses as well as the upper buttresses. You have a series of Corinthian columns that are laid out in a circular fashion the way they are down below. You have the archways, the narrow archways. And then of course there's a series of swags, and there's upper cupola that is basically a cap and ball and a finial.
This is a mini dome, if you will. There's 4 mini domes that surround the base of the drum. And the thing to notice, a lot of people never notice because they don't get close enough, is the intricate carvings in the stonework. Even the veins in the leaves is carved. And this is consistent all the way up in the building. A lot of the intricate carving was done in place. They hoisted the rough stone up. The carver had a template, and then he carved it in place. And so it's just impressive. All of this stone is Wilkinson sandstone, which was, I guess, mined in Wilkinson here and brought on rail cars here to the site.